who's willing to say that they have
Nope.
shotguns? Derry? Is that a no?
No, never drank a drop of alcohol.
Same.
Scott?
And
Chug.
What if it's the Demogorgon?
This is Hawkins, okay?
This is a Rewatch podcast.
You can move forwards or backwards.
It's time to load your film and your camera, hop in the Chevy K5 Police Blazer, and crank up your stereo as three youth pastors who grew up in the 80s learn about the Upside Down and try to figure out what it has to do with the Weirdo on Maple Street. This is Hawkins Youth Rally.
Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to episode number 2 or 3 of Hawkins Youth Rally, where we're going to talk about episode 2, The Weirdo on Maple Street, with 3 youth pastors who lived in the 80s, like these students, love Stranger Things, and are doing a rewatch. Guys, good to have you. My good friends Scott Timman and David Reed. I'm Derry Prinkert. And guys, as we get onto this call, I gotta be curious. There's a great moment that happens in this episode involving a record player with 2 brothers. So take me back to your high school years. I walk into your bedroom. What's playing in your bedroom, and on what device is it playing? David Reed, go.
I can tell you right now. So I had a pretty jamming stereo system in my room. They don't even make this brand anymore, but if you remember Onkyo, Onkyo, it was like a Japanese, obviously a Japanese brand. It was a cassette tape deck, with a, you had like a I don't know, powered amp with it, and I had JBL speakers. So, man, it was great. It was awesome. But if you came into my room, I would have that with a cassette tape going of Def Leppard's Pyromania. So that would be what would be going in, something with Def Leppard. That was my band back in the 80s.
All right.
So, yeah, that's what it'd be.
Dude, was the drummer down to one arm at that time?
Or was he had 2 arms at Pyromania. So
okay.
Yeah, he had 1 arm on Hysteria. So
if you don't know what we're talking about there, go ahead and pause this, search on YouTube, come back, and that's great. So is that Pour Some Sugar on Me?
Nope. That's Photograph, Rock of Ages, Foolin'.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
No.
This is where it gets dated.
Hysteria.
This is where it gets dated. You guys are in your 50s, and I'm almost 50, because I know Def Leppard, but not to that level. Okay, Scott, what about you?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely going to be a double cassette boombox player, because I couldn't have the big stereo was in the main living room.
Yeah.
And only my dad could utilize that. You don't touch Dad's thing, but I had the double deck because you want to have a place where you could dub things or record things off the radio so that you could legally pirate things back in the day.
Mixtape for your birthday.
A mixtape? Oh, that's so sweet, Ricky.
Yeah, get that mixtape going. But this one, 1984 Van Halen, probably playing Panama, Jump, all those kinds of things is going to be playing in mine.
So we're David Lee Roth,
right?
Right? We're still David Lee there. We haven't gone to Sammy yet.
Yep.
Now, it could have been on the other side of the double deck. I would have Hysteria in there. So I was a Def Leppard Hysteria album fan.
Nice. See, now, guys, you go into my room, which was a boombox CD player that also had a double tape deck and a radio, meaning I could create mixtapes off my CDs, the radio, and other tapes. But you would walk in my high school days, and the weird thing is you would hear me listening to U2, like of something. It would have been Zooropa and and Zoo TV, like the Achtung Baby, those would be the albums that were out at the time. But I would probably be on my 6th or 7th listen through of Joshua Tree. Because I just became obsessed with U2. So that would be there for sure. Along with, though, like a grunge feel, you know, so Nirvana hit my freshman year. I was more of a Pearl Jam guy. But you'd be most likely walking in on U2. So that's where David, you and I, like, we have this kindred heart spirit around that band for sure. But there we go. Like,
I remember my first U2 video that I saw.
Okay.
Yeah. So still
there you go.
No, from Joshua Tree. That would have been my first one that I saw and was like, all right, I'm into this.
Yep.
Yeah.
First VHS tape I owned, Rattle and Hum. We could probably spend an entire episode about this, and we were talking before we recorded that we could build a Patreon, you know, because we know this is going to have so many listeners, and we could just have a whole show of David Reed talking rock.
David Reed talking rock. Coming to Patreon. Probably never.
Yeah.
But we got to get on to this episode. We got to talk about this episode of Stranger Things, episode 2 of season 1. And in our first try at a rewatch conversation, we did this chatbot overview thing that bombed when I did it with ChatGPT. So David, I said, why don't you take it? So why don't you walk us through this?
Yeah. So I threw it in my favorite AI, Perplexity. And so it did a pretty good job this time. So I will read that, what its synopsis of episode 2.
AI. Episode. Summary. Incoming.
Mike sneaks 11 into his house, hides her in the basement, gives her dry clothes and food, slowly winning her trust. He nicknames her Elle and promises to keep her safe, even lying to his mom about any strange noises downstairs. And as Dustin and Lucas meet her, they're skeptical and frustrated that Mike is breaking their rules, but they realize she might know something important when she recognizes Will in a photo and reacts with fear. 11 uses the boys' Dungeons & Dragons board to wordlessly show that Will is in a dark, dangerous place, tipping it over to suggest another world layered over their own. We move over to Joyce and Hopper and their investigation. Since Joyce is increasingly frantic, convinced that the strange phone calls full of static and faint breathing are from Will trying to reach her. Each time the phone rings, she rushes to answer, and one call ends with a burst of noise that overloads the line and literally burns out the phone, convincing her something supernatural is happening. Hopper visits Joyce, initially assuming stress and grief are making her see patterns that aren't there, but he also starts to notice odd details and the mounting fear in the town. He follows up on Benny's death at the diner and hears about a mysterious child seen there, which quietly points him toward Eleven's escape. Jonathan struggles to cope, putting up missing posters and clashing with Joyce when she sounds crazy to him, even though he's terrified for Will. To get some air and feel less helpless, he goes out with his camera and ends up near Steve's house, where Nancy is at a small party trying to impress her new boyfriend. Barb feels left out and uncomfortable as the others drink and pair off, but stays for Nancy's sake. When they pressure Barb to shotgun a beer, she cuts her hand, leaving blood in the water by the pool. As Nancy goes inside with Steve, Barb sits alone, and the creature from the other dimension stalks her. She's suddenly attacked and dragged into the darkness, making her the monster's next victim. Meanwhile, the scientists and agents connected to Hawkins National Laboratory quietly sweep the area, tracking signs of the creature and the breach between worlds. Their presence around Joyce's home and in the woods signals that they know more than the town does, and that whatever happened to Will and Barb tied to their secret experiments. By the end of the episode, the boys recognize that 11 is their most important link to Will. Joyce is more certain than ever that her son is reaching out from somewhere unseen, and the audience sees that the danger in Hawkins is not just missing children, but a lethal monster hunting in an alternate dimension that overlaps their town.
AI. Episode. Summary. Shutting down.
Not bad.
Boom. We should do like a super cut of my Chat GPT explanation episode 1 and that one just to show like how much better we were there. That's impressive. What was wait again? What was that? What's the AI you used on that one?
Perplexity.
All right, Perplexity. Sponsor us.
There we go.
Because we just clearly plugged you over Chat GPT.
Oh yeah.
Well, now that I mean we've heard the Perplexity version of this. What are general thoughts on this rewatch for us as you rewatched it? What stood out to you guys?
I'll go general thoughts to start. I can start us off with this is an awesome episode at capturing both life as a middle schooler or high schooler. I think we'll get into that when we get to Youth Pastor Corner later. But then not just that, being a middle schooler or a high schooler in the 80s. Like there's just elements to that. And I remember once like the Duffers talking about, I think as season 2 came around, of we early on knew we had to put the show in the 80s because there's certain parts to the show that will only work if it's in the 80s. There needs to be this struggle to communicate, things like that. And I like, I'm sure we'll talk about that more, but this was an episode where I just was like, yeah, this is why I love that it's in the 80s. Just the peer pressure part of it. There's elements here that like if it happened now, there would be so much more social media coverage to it. It would probably be a whole lot more horrible. There's some terrible things that happen to people, some terrible choices, some really creepy stalking that takes place. And quite honestly, a little bit of a development episode.
Yeah, I think also too, like the whole thing of the different things in there that were so 80s that we'll get to in a little bit that stick out that remind us of how we grew up and being able to hear some of those types of things. I think that was, and like when I'm rewatching it, I know how it ends, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, now I get it. And so I think there was just a lot of different things as you watch it in this rewatch that you see, okay, that's how those things connect.
You think about too. I was going to say too. You know, when you think about this, the focus is on now 2 people that are missing, can't find, and what would we do first if it was today? We'd be looking at doorbell cameras, and we'd be looking at where so many people have that, but they didn't have it then. They're just like, oh, we don't know what happened. They don't have any way to go back and look and see anything leading up to it. So
yeah,
I just think how different today, and again, go back to they had to set it in the 80s because there's just so much mystery involved in this that you couldn't explain it the same way if it was present day.
Yeah. I'll be honest, on a rewatch end, we've committed in this. We're not like watching ahead. We like, if we record 2 episodes in one day, we might have watched, but after watching episode 1 and getting to this, I knew Barb was short on the show. I forgot that it was this episode where she's done. The other one that I was really like blown away by is the chemistry of Elle and Mike in this.
Is that real? Sorry, I've just never seen a kid with a tattoo before. What's it mean? 11.
From a actor's standpoint, even like it's amazing the acting from them to connect, and you see like this sweet innocent friendship because Mike has this golden heart of loyalty and things like that, but also like he's this pubescent boy that's intrigued by this girl too. That was really cool to see.
Well, do we want to why don't we move into some superlatives?
Good morning, students. We want to take a moment to honor the best of the best in Hawkins as we offer up our superlatives.
Oh, I have a few in mind.
Let's talk a little bit about the episode, some different things that we want to do. So let's start out, if we think about this scene, some of the, like, what were the most 80s moment when you just kind of, oh my gosh, I remember that moment. So Derry, how about you? You got an 80s moment from from that
Yeah.
episode?
Yeah, I'm gonna take a full scene and just kind of pick apart like how I just thought it's an 80s thing, and it's only in the 80s, and it's just the whole pool scene as a whole, where you've got, Nancy talking Barb into going over to Steve's place with these others, and I just think the elements of it all, like on this school night that they went and studied, and then they all end up in the pool. And again, like that whole part of they have the ability to do this, where now there would be a backdoor camera and Life 360, and even just the fact that they can just push each other in the pool and not have somebody screaming, go, wait, let me get my phone out of my pocket. Like that even hit me of just like, like they could do that. And then, in the midst of that, you've got this creeper off to the corner, Jonathan, who's in a classic 80s film camera, taking these pictures, and then the repercussions of that, which we aren't seeing quite yet, but I know they're coming. They would look so different now, right? Like this whole thing gets handled among these friends, where we're talking lawsuits and we're talking overprotective parenting or just more present parenting. So I know I don't like. It's a different type of most 80s moment, but I just thought, like, yeah, this whole thing, it would look so different in today or anything like 2007 or beyond, since smartphones got introduced. It would just look totally different. So that's mine.
Yeah. How about you, Scott?
Yeah, I would say it's going to Will's house and seeing the fort that's built with blankets for Elle, and the many versions of Afghans all over the place in the typical 80s colors of orange and green and all those types of things. Now, if you come to my house right now, we're going to have blankets on our furniture, but they're fleece ones now. We've upgraded to fleece these days. Well, back in the day, it was those scratchy feeling Afghans that you would actually snuggle up with. And I don't know how we did that in the 80s.
I think my parents still have one.
Do they?
Probably yellow, orange, and brown, probably.
Yeah. Probably. It fitted with the shag carpet maybe too, right? Back in the 80s.
Yeah. I'm immediately going to a green Afghan that was present in my home a lot, and I used a lot, but the crazy thing is it was never big enough, like I would want to cover up to watch TV, and I still use the thing, but it was never quite big enough. Yeah.
But you would stretch it with your feet. You put your feet in it and stretch it and get it in there. So I would say blankets and Afghans, those were typical.
Well, I think for me, my most 80s moment, I go to the scene where Jonathan and Will are in his room, and he's playing the Clash, Should I Stay or Should I Go? And I think the classic older brother introducing the younger brother to rock and roll.
Like it?
Yeah.
And to punk. And I just, I have a moment, like I didn't have an older brother, but there was a friend of mine who was a little bit older that we were friends with. And I remember one day going over to his house after church, and being introduced to rock and roll. How how fitting is that? But I remember, I remember him saying, "You need to listen to this," and I remember listening to Styx, Pieces of Eight, song "Renegade." I remember listening to Queen and Another One Bites the Dust, and AC/DC, Black and Black. Just I remember hearing those where he's just like, "You got to hear this. I've never heard of these groups before," And just being kind of like mesmerized. He's 3 years older than me. We're friends, and just kind of that older brother, younger brother, and that's just very 80s. Listen to the stereo. Listen to it on the stereo. So,
dude, I gotta tell you though, I get sentimental too though, because I have a immediate that was a great 80s moment for me, in the fact that I do have an older brother, and I have this distinct memory of him taking me into his dual boombox and playing Huey Lewis and the News 4, that album, which is a little different than The Clash. 'Cause I can tell what's going on. It's hip to be square. But again, super conservative home, and my Carman tapes got put to the side for a moment, and by the way, if you aren't tied to church world, just go you pause YouTube Carman, come back, and good luck.
Satan, bite the dust.
I just remember listening from beginning to end to that album, and like, you know, that whole big brother to little brother transfer. And then you said earlier, Scott, dubbing. That was my first tape. He dubbed that tape then for me, and I would listen to that. So yeah, great 80s moment, dude.
Yeah. Huey Lewis, my first non-Christian concert too. So yeah,
first of many, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure, and still happening. Well, hey, let's move to a favorite scene. What were some what scene in this episode just like, man, this was great. This was a great moment, a great thing. Yeah, Scott, why don't you start us off? Tell us your favorite scene.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with when Elle and Mike and the guys were downstairs and the D&D board is down there, and she pulls out the character. She knows which character is Will, and she says,
Will.
And then she flips the board over and puts Will in the middle of it. And I was like, oh, that's where the first part of the upside down is actually given to us. But I didn't catch that at that point.
Hiding. Will is hiding. From the bad men? And from who?
And so I think that was a big scene for me. Favorite scene of it that's kind of setting things up going on.
Yeah, phenomenal scene. Like, like I'm in the same boat, Scott. Like, holy cow, that I didn't catch how and profound, like up there in like top 10 scenes maybe of this season as far as like how it plays out. So good call.
But they don't even know what that means. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah, it means so much more now that we've been through the whole episodes, you know. Just whoa, eye catching. All right, Derry, about you. What's your favorite scene in this episode?
I mean, as usual, Scott stole mine, so no, I'm kidding. I'm gonna go with this one. Just the disappearance of Barb scene is favorite. Man, we got the whole, we could go on and on about, you know, justice for Barb as the show went on and like how but the horror film feel to that. You got Jonathan off the side capturing something. There she is, there she's not. The loneliness that she's feeling, the left out. So there's like this kind of the third wheel good girl that didn't do anything to end up here, and then there she is gone. And maybe not like the greatest, most significant scene, but honestly the fallout from it for the show, and it helped build popularity, right? Like this whole Barb piece became this whole meme outside of culture too. So I'll go with that.
Yeah, that's a good one for sure. Very 80s horror feeling, you know, big time on that one.
You're right.
I think for me, a little more of a comedy kind of scene is when the boys come across Elle and they bring her back to Mike's house. And they go down there and she's wet. She's been out in the cold and the rain and all that. And so they hand her some dry clothes, and she, you know, modesty, she starts getting ready to take her change her clothes, totally innocent in her mind, and they freak out.
No!
Oh my god!
See, over there, that's the bathroom. Privacy. Get it?
Like, no, kind of like middle school boys would do. And then Mike kind of takes her and wheels her into the bathroom, and then that's it. But just that freak out moment of seeing those boys just kind of freak out, like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? And really kind of an invasive of their world too. They're a bunch of middle school boys hanging out, doing what middle school boys do. And all of a sudden this girl is introduced to them and they're like, oh, what are we going to do? Yeah. It's just kind of a funny moment for me, just to, you know, how many times you've seen girls walk up to middle school boys and they don't know what to do. So
totally.
Yeah. So that's mine.
It's also, though, it's a little bit of a nod too, to help us know Elle is not from normal circumstances, right? Like, because the fact, so there's even that, the mystery of the unfolding mystery of who is Elle and what's going on. There's that. It by far the best part is just the humor of these total middle school boys, but yeah, that's there too. So yeah.
All right. What about a character moment for you guys? Who stood out? Who what's something that you were like, oh man, this is a great character moment for you in this episode.
Oh, guys, I'm gonna get in trouble. Watch last episode. This is where everybody's gonna go, okay, here goes Derry with his crush again. But I'm gonna go, and as I'm thinking about this, I think we're all saying, like, it's a moment where the character shows their true colors. They just nail it from an acting standpoint. But I'm gonna go with Joyce. And the like kind of this unveiling and unraveling that she's going through, but also the convinced nature.
We've been waiting 6 hours.
Yeah, no, I came as soon as I could.
6 hours.
She might be crazy, but she also is a like ruthless, loyal mama bear that's gonna try to figure this out, and nobody convince her otherwise.
I'm not saying that you're making it up. All I'm saying is it's an emotional time for you.
And you think I don't know my own son's breathing?
And she's willing to do whatever. Like, she doesn't care, you know?
Yeah.
It's like you said, the mama bear, like when she tells her boss,
I needed advance.
Yes, well, of course. Of course.
You know, she's just like, just do it, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that guy is like, you can tell he doesn't want to do it, and he has every right to tell her no, but it's almost like he's too scared. So.
He's not taking no. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, even as you say that, that reminds me of when I was in middle school, high school, because my parents split up at that time, and my mom was like that. You know, she was then all of a sudden having to go and work and all that kinds of things. But like, yeah, she would do whatever she could to get us stuff, because it did go really well with my dad. So
yep.
I just thought of that.
Yeah.
I guess for me, we're going with, is Scott going to talk about anybody else but Elle in this episode here? But I would say that my best character moment is when Elle is kind of revealing even more, as Dustin says, that she's got these special powers. You know, they're in the room, and she keeps shutting the door as they're trying to leave, and she's using her powers, and then what the camera angle goes to where the bloody nose drip is coming out, and so it's revealing even more of these telekinetic powers that she's got. We saw a little bit in episode 1 with the stopping of the fan and things of that sort, and now we see it's just building this character.
And I think for me, in that same, you know, sense of talking about Elle, it would be Mike. I think he starts to kind of show his leadership of the group and kind of being the leader. And he's the one that takes Elle under his wing, and he's the one who takes her and does whatever it takes to get her in and calms her fears and sees that she's like the scene where he puts her in the closet and you know, walks away to hide her or whatever, and she has a flashback moment, and he opens up the door and sees that she's panicking, you know, and then he just you know, kind of comforts her, makes sure that she's okay. I don't know, just see a kind of a tender side, but also a leadership side of him as well. I think we start to really see, you know, that he's going to be the leader of that group.
Well, we're 3 old youth pastors here. We want to take that youth ministry or youth pastor look at it of like what sticks out to us as youth pastors.
It's now time for the Stranger Things universe to travel through the wormhole of the Upside Down and step into the church world. As Hawkins Youth Rally presents Youth Ministry Corner.
So, who do you think was the best youth pastor in this episode? Any people come to mind on this one?
Well, I mean, I can stick with Mike on that because I think he pulls the group together. He's the one kind of taking the charge and the lead and explaining what promises are, what friends are, like what a youth minister would do when it comes to teaching and sharing and something that's important to him. And then just kind of that moment where, like I said, he sees Elle all in the closet, all broken, all hurt. And just that idea of just kind of like, almost kind of like a shepherd, willing to kind of comfort her, make her feel okay, and take care of her, make sure she's got food. I just think there's a lot of kind of that pastoral without it being a pastor kind of thing, but just a lot more pastoral stuff there.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. We could do this every episode, I think, but I'm going to give a Hopper call out on this one, and not so much the drinking a Schlitz and sleeping with some random woman. That's not too youth pastorly,
Right.
but handling a helicopter oversensitive mom without dismissing her completely, trying to calm situations while being open. It's a skill I see in the best of the best youth pastors out there, right? I'm not going to freak out, but I'm also not going to dismiss that there could be more to this. The ones who really last in it, that's a big part in it. You're working with a really tricky age group where you can't go by what they said is full truth, but also they're young adults that deserve to be heard. You have parents who they're the most important and influential person, and so sometimes they'll be jaded and or not jaded, but they'll be a little too slanted in their views of their own kids. So there's like just a lot as I'm thinking about it in this episode we watch, as we've talked about. I'll give Hopper that, but I really don't recommend the parts of how Hopper chooses to live his life morally to be a part of any youth pastor's life.
Yeah,
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
We did say moment, not the model youth pastor.
Yeah.
But we were also talking about earlier too, like Barb has got some youth pastor moments in this of, at the party and like, hey, you shouldn't be we shouldn't be doing this, and was really hesitant of shotgunning a beer and not giving into that peer pressure and temptation that was going on with that whole crew. And Nancy, she compromised. She wanted to make sure that that Steve would still like her and things of that sort. And I think that that's some of the themes that we could even see in this from a youth pastor's perspective of dealing with peer pressure. What do you guys think about that whole peer pressure temptation type stuff that was in this episode?
Yeah, that takes me back to, like I said, in my initial impressions of just like this captured life as a high schooler period in some really powerful ways. And then a little unique in the 80s because, it was an in-person night gathering with a lot of peer pressure. And I think we've all done countless messages to students, and a common message we'll do is on friendship, and in high school especially, the importance of who are you going to surround yourself with? Like the classic cliche statements of "show me your friends, I'll show you your future." Bad company corrupts good character, and like that all being there. So there's that piece to it, but there's also really, I would even throw in the midst of that too. There's this piece of the difference between temptation and then giving into temptation, and there's a really fascinating part of guys. Nancy had her mind made up before she went, right? Like it's not like she really gave in on a lot. It's more like Barb didn't have much luck in influencing her, but ultimately, like, there's that part too that's really intriguing in it. So
yeah, and that that whole scene, the shotgunning of a beer, how they do all that. I saw those things happen, and when I was a teenager, and people daring others to do this, and some kind of outrageous thing, and like you said, it was always kind of in person, and now you're getting dared to do something online. And at least back then we didn't have record of it. You just have memories of it.
Unless there was a creep in the pool off to the side taking pictures,
right,
but usually,
yes, for the most part, So
yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah, that peer pressure was just you realize how go, that kind of stuff, and just peer pressure was still relevant today, like you said, Scott. Probably a little higher, but still, I just remember those kind of things happening, when I was that age as well. So, although I never did that, I didn't do it.
Okay, I was just going to ask that because I was like, who's willing to say that they have shotguns? Derry? Is that a no?
Never drank a drop of alcohol. Plenty of other regrets in my high school, but my high school years, but that was not in my world.
Same.
Scott?
And
Or we need to move on.
Moving along. Let's talk about middle school friend.
Hey, as they say, that was BC.
There
Before
you go.
Christ. Before
There
Christ.
you go. There you go.
Because it wasn't
Yep.
until ninth grade year that I really gave my life to Christ. So
Okay.
there were some things, in that middle school time frame that, we'll just move on.
Yeah.
Worldly.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's also going to be a part of our Patreons. Confessions. With
Yeah,
Scott.
there we go. Yeah.
Confessions with Scott. Coming to Patreon. Probably never.
Full confessions there. I think we talked about the friendship loyalty already too. I think that's another perspective that comes in here where you see that happening with it kind of on two different perspectives for this, like with Elle making it into the club and accepting, but then you see it on the other side too of where Nancy and she's ready to give up her friend. Hey, I just needed you for the ride here, an excuse to come to this party. And I just distinctly remember, Barb, you can go now.
Yeah.
Remember that part? And it's just like, hey, your friendship was used for the right thing. And so you see the opposite side of things on that. Any other thoughts on that, you guys?
I think it's really interesting too, because this is what I love in this. Back to that middle school and high school, you've got friendship dynamics that these things can happen in middle school, like what happened in the high school end with giving into peer pressure, making poor choices, and that causing rifts in your friendship. That can happen in middle school, but it tends to be more the high school friendship drama is based on that. Like you're making decisions that I don't know if I want to line up. Am I going to choose my friendship and just be okay with this stuff, or am I gonna like still have my standards but not yours, and can we find a friendship? Like that tends to be the high school drama. The middle school drama, it tends to be like this loyalty breach that happens. Like, wait, we're close friends. I mean, how many small group situations have we had to deal with in middle school where this girl or this boy wants out of this group because they're not friends anymore because this friend is now a closer friend, and that's kind of what's going on, among the boys and what you're seeing there as Elle comes in. It's not that there's bad. I mean, like these bad choices being made. It's just more where does loyalty sit and who's in and who's out. Where up in high school, it's am I going to be involved in these activities, and do I care enough? I care about you, and I don't want you to make the bad decisions too. But where's my line where I'm not going to do it? It captured it really, really well. Like I feel like I'm having memories of individuals that I sit across, restaurant tables or in my office or after a Wednesday night, with very similar conversations on the high school end, and then a lot of parent conversations trying to work through the whole relational drama fallout on loyalty and everything else.
Yeah.
I think, too, I don't know how many, as I put my youth pastor hat on here, but how many conversations did I have with high school kids who were upset because friends that they had in middle school or maybe early in high school were abandoning them because they weren't willing to make the bad choices. And I mean, I know several students that just were, sit across from me heartbroken in tears. No one calls me on Friday night anymore. Nobody calls me to go out because they know I'm not going to do what they want to do, and having to try to encourage that kid to hang on, hang on, God will reward you for making the right choices with new friends, and seeing some of that come to fruition as that in college and adults. But, gosh, that whole idea of that peer pressure, giving into it or not giving into it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to get a little philosophical here. I was thinking everything you were talking, Scott. Obviously, Stranger Things isn't written with a Judeo-Christian evangelical arc that we would hold to in it. And so we would be quick to talk about, your decisions have consequences, and Jesus can redeem those things. Yet there is this arc that's even present in this episode. It's like Nancy carries the guilt of this choice all the way through the rest of the show. You got Jonathan, and like the redemptive arc he goes through of like owning up to I shouldn't have done that with the pictures, and then the forgiveness that happens, and yet the long lasting tension between he and Steve. So it's just really interesting. Decisions have consequences. There is redemption that can be found on the other side that this show does talk about. We would just be of the mindset in our faith journey that the ultimate redemption comes when that's met with a supernatural power of a savior that walked this earth and everything else. So sorry for there's me going down philosophical corner, but it's a really big theme in this. So yeah.
Look at you going deep.
That's actually just us trying to make a case for why this episode's good, right? Because ultimately we got to decide if this is like where this ranks. I mean, we're only 2 episodes in, but we decided we're going to give a ranking to every episode, and we're going to pick something from the episode that we're going to rank it with. So on a scale of 0 to 10, we decided, thanks to Scott, that we're going to rank this in Afghans. So how many Afghans at grandma's house? That's what I think of right away when I think of an Afghan. But on a 0 to 10, 0 being terrible, 10 being this is Mount Rushmore level episode. What are we going to rank this? Scott, you can go first. How many Afghans does this episode get, and why?
I'm gonna go a 7 on this. A little bit lower than last week, but I think some of the things that it revealed, and in the rewatch of seeing, that's what that stands for and things, I think it's building that story, but it's just not the hype as the first one. So I think it's a solid 7. I put it at a C level, average.
Okay. David?
I think for me, I've gone back and forth. I wouldn't rate it as high as Scott. I think I'm going to go, I'll give it a 5. How about 5 Afghans? And here's, I know.
But you're not doing grade level. So he did grade level. You're not necessarily, you're saying this is average.
Average, yeah. So I'm thinking it was good. And we're introduced to some things. But, I was a little bummed about Barb and the way that ended. And of course, for me to see Nancy make that choice that she made, and I don't know, and it doesn't resolve anything. Nothing really gets resolved. I give it a 5. It's still good. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that's bad. Yeah. Like, I enjoyed it. I mean, but it's just, kind of okay, 5.
I get it, man. From a guy who enjoys Whataburger, a 5 means good. So, I'm going to go with this. I'm going to, just to, bring up a very dead cultural thing, I'm going to give this a 6.7. And the reason I'm going to give it a 6.7 is I almost land in the middle, but I'm going to lean a little bit toward Scott on it. I think this is a surprisingly forgettable episode with some very memorable elements to it.
Yeah.
As I think back on it, like the Barb piece is enormous, right? Like on just the implications, that L moment that you talked about, Scott, was so fabulous to relive. But honestly, like, and I don't know, man, we're setting our tone, right? Like we were given like 9s and 8s to the first episode, and I got to figure out how to like not live up high with it. So I'm going to go, in that mind, it's like a C-, maybe a D+ if I go by the grades. It's still, I want it to pass, but like be very, like it passes and it's okay, is average, but I don't think it was above average. I would give it right at about average to below average. So that's where I'm at.
Man, that's right. That's right at where I was in high school. I was 1.7, 2.0 grade point average. So
all right. And guys, just to be clear, 6.7 Afghans, that means 6 Afghans in that 7th one. It's that green one that I could never cover my whole body. So 0.7.
Yeah. It's all short. Falls just a little bit short. Yeah.
Exactly right.
It's now time to select this episode's MVP.
Did you have a character you said was the MVP? Scott, what about you? Start us off.
Well, let's just call this Scott's L episode, because everything I'm talking about is L. L is my MVP because that's all I've been talking about.
Bad people? They want to hurt you? The bad people?
And I just think, again, we hear her talk, we see her special abilities, all those types of things. I think that she is starting to make the case of being the focal point of what is going to be coming down the road here. So Elle is moving up the board for me towards the MVP. I don't think you can go wrong with a vote for Elle.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
It's fair.
Derry?
It's fair. I mean,
Yeah.
she was such a non-focal point in the last episode, and clearly central. So I can get behind that, Scott, but you're wrong. I'm gonna go, and it's a little bit of a different, but I'm gonna say that the MVP is Barb.
Barb, chill. I'm chill.
Who I'm not like a justice for Barb person, to be very honest. I'm like, yeah, she's a character. She was there. She wasn't there. It moved the plot forward. Yet at the same time, for what this did in culture, and what this episode plays into of this character who clearly hit something in culture of that loyal friend, that very 80s looking mom jeans, short perm hair gal that was the good girl that just did not get what she deserved in it. My vote for her for MVP is based off of what this does to the overall like mystique and story to the overall show of Stranger Things, is where Barb gets the vote for the MVP. And let's be honest, I think this is pretty much the only time she could get it. So we gotta take that into account.
I was just thinking that same thing. I mean, she can't get it again. She's gone.
Nope.
So clearly Scott's already agreed with me, Dave. You just want to give in. And
both of you make great arguments, but you're both wrong. For me, it's Mike.
Ready are you? What knows you of ready?
His name's Yoda. He can use the Force to move things with his mind. Like this.
And talking about your L episode, Scott, this is my Mike episode. I just feel like he kind of rose to the occasion. He established himself as the leader, and he took up for Elle and helped her and come along, and he got onto the guys when they wanted to turn her in, and just kind of took charge of the group and showed friendship, showed loyalty, but showed leadership. So he's my MVP. He's my MVP.
Guys, I'll be really honest. I think we've all made great cases. Like, I don't know how this is going to play out in future episodes. But let's be honest. In episode 1, David got Hopper. Hopper was the MVP. We all just tried.
Sure.
You know, I can see a case being made for any of these based off of the way we approached it. So who knows? Hey, we'll probably post some polls somewhere in our different social media and you can even comment what you think. Who's the MVP? We've made our case. You weigh in and say what you think. So, guys, this has been fun. This is episode 2 we've done. I am trying to remember what the title of episode 3 is. So it's Holly Jolly. I know it's coming.
Yep.
We got some Christmas lights coming, guys.
Yeah. Right.
So we're going to now all go listen to our hi-fi stereos. David with some Def Leppard. Scott, what was it you're going to check out again? Van Halen, and I'll be jamming to some U2. You guys go enjoy your bands.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Hawkins Youth Rally, a Stranger Things rewatch. Be sure to subscribe on whatever platform you're joining us on. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Hawkins Youth Rally. And be sure to find us on YouTube on the I Am the Rewatcher channel, where you can find bonus and other rewatching content. We'll see you next episode.